Imagine building an entire nation from nothing. Now, imagine that nation being completely destroyed, not by disease, not by European settlers, but by your own neighbors, people who spoke a similar language, people you had traded with for generations. The Huron Nation was one of the most powerful confederacies in North America, and the Iroquois, their neighbors, destroyed them in less than 2 years. 20,000 people gone, villages burned, survivors scattered across a continent, a civilization that had taken centuries to build, erased in 1649 and 1650. But here is what makes this story extraordinary. The Huron survived anyway. This is their story. The Huron, who called themselves Wendat, meaning island people or dwellers of the peninsula, were one of the most sophisticated nations in North America. Their homeland was the Georgian Bay region of what is now Ontario, Canada, a landscape of forests, lakes, and rich agricultural land that sustained a population of approximately 20,000 to 40,000 people at their peak. The Wendat Confederacy consisted of 4 allied nations, the Bear, Cord, Rock, and Deer peoples. Together, they formed one of the most politically sophisticated alliances in the northeastern woodlands, a democratic confederation with shared decision-making, shared ceremonies, and shared identity. They were primarily farmers, growing corn, beans, and squash in large quantities. Their agricultural surpluses made them one of the wealthiest nations in the region and the center of a vast trading network that stretched from the Atlantic coast to the Great Lakes and beyond. They were also extraordinary diplomats. The Wyandot understood that trade and alliance were more powerful than warfare. For generations, they maintained a vast network of relationships with dozens of nations across northeastern North America. When the French arrived in the early 1600s, the Wyandot were perfectly positioned to benefit. They became the French Empire's most important native ally. Their trade networks became the backbone of the French fur trade. Their political sophistication made them indispensable partners. For a generation, the alliance between the French and the Wyandot transformed the northeastern woodlands. And then, everything collapsed. In the 1640s, the fur trade that had made the Wyandot powerful began to destroy them. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Iroquois, had exhausted the beaver populations in their own territory. They needed access to new fur territories to maintain their trade relationships with the Dutch and later the British. The Huron-Wendat controlled those territories. In 1648 and 1649, the Haudenosaunee launched devastating military campaigns against the Huron Confederacy. These were not raids, they were systematic, coordinated attacks designed to completely destroy the Huron as a political and military force. They succeeded. Huron villages were burned, thousands of people were killed. French Jesuit missionaries, including Jean de Brébeuf, were captured and killed. The survivors, thousands of men, women, and children, scattered across the landscape in the dead of winter. Some fled to Quebec City, throwing themselves on the mercy of the French. Some were absorbed into Haudenosaunee nations, adopted to replace warriors lost in battle. Some fled south and west, eventually reaching the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes region. For within 2 years, the Wendat Confederacy that had dominated the northeastern woodlands for generations was completely destroyed. It was one of the most complete and rapid destructions of any nation in North American history. The survivors who fled to Quebec eventually established a new community, Wendake, near Quebec City. They rebuilt, they maintained their language, they maintained their ceremonies, they maintained their identity as Wendat people, even as everything around them had changed beyond recognition. The survivors who fled south and west became known as the Wyandot, a variation of Wendat. They established communities in the Ohio Valley, in Michigan, in Kansas, and eventually in Oklahoma.
For over 150 years, the Wyandot navigated the complex and dangerous world of colonial North America with remarkable skill. They allied with the French, then the British, then, reluctantly, the Americans. Each alliance was a strategic calculation. Each one was designed to protect their communities and preserve their identity in a world that was rapidly changing around them. They were removed from Ohio in 1843, forced to relocate to Kansas. From Kansas, many were eventually moved to Oklahoma. Each removal stripped away more land, more resources, more stability.
The long struggle. The 18th century brought wave after wave of loss. The 1817 Treaty of Fort Meade, the 1842 Treaty of Upper Sandusky. Each treaty took more land. Each promise was broken. In 1843, the Wyandot of Ohio were forcibly removed to Kansas. They were the last Native American nation to be removed from Ohio. In Kansas, they built again. They established schools, churches, and a functioning community. Some Wyandot had converted to Christianity generations earlier, and their community in Kansas became one of the most educated and literate Native American communities in the region. But the pressure continued. The Dawes Act, allotment, Oklahoma statehood. The Wyandot Nation of Oklahoma, the principal successor to the original Wendat Confederacy, was eventually terminated by the U.S. government in 1956. Their federal recognition was withdrawn. Their tribal government was dissolved. For 22 years, they existed without official recognition, without the legal status that would allow them to protect their lands, their culture, or their community. In 1978, they were restored. Today, the Wyandot Nation of Oklahoma is a federally recognized sovereign nation based in Wyandot, Oklahoma. The Huron-Wendat Nation, the direct descendants of those who fled to Quebec in 1650, still live in Wendake, Quebec, Canada. Their community is one of the most economically successful Indigenous communities in Canada, operating businesses, cultural tourism, and community services that have made them a model of Indigenous self-determination. Their language, Wendat, was considered extinct for generations. In recent decades, linguists and community members have worked together to reconstruct and revive it from historical records, missionary documents, and the memories of elders. It is coming back. Their longhouse traditions, their clan system, their ceremonies, all alive, all being passed to the next generation. The Haudenosaunee destroyed the Wendat Confederacy in 1649. They scattered the survivors across a continent. They burned the villages and erased the political structure that had taken centuries to build. But they could not erase the people. The Wendat, the island people, are still here, still carrying the memory of what was lost, still building what comes next. The Huron-Wendat Nation was destroyed in less than 2 years. Their civilization, built over centuries, burned to the ground in the winter of 1649. And yet, they survived. They rebuilt. They are still here. Their story is one of the most extraordinary survival stories in North American history, and it deserves to be known. If this story moved you, share this video so more people can discover the truth about the Huron-Wendat Nation. Follow the page for more untold stories of Native American history, and tell me in the comments which Native American tribe do you want to see next.